Batman Arkham Asylum is one of the most perfect video games ever made. With many sequels that added to its legacy, it's a game that has had so much love for its world, it perfected it. So after a realization it's been 15 years since the original, I decided to revisit this game to see how it changed the game environment for the better and how it adapts the world of Batman to a T. So strap in as we explore why Arkham Asylum is perfect. So let's start with gameplay. The innovative gameplay for this time was just revolutionary. These days, we see these kinds of gameplays all the time, especially for superhero games, but at the time, this was just something brand new. The biggest talking point of the entire gameplay is the combat and gadgets, as you are literally Batman. The expectations for that kind of active experience are high, and what Rocksteady was able to do simply can't be praised enough. Let's start with the attacks you can do. You got basics like strikes, counterattacks, and evading enemies, but then things for the gadgets like batarangs or the Batclaw, and of course the takedowns you can perform on enemies. The core of the combat around is how vivid it feels. The game offers you a needless free flow of combat that makes it feel inviting. The combat system is also very responsive. This isn't some simple fight system like what you had at the time. This is a wide variety that isn't gonna be easy. You must be careful with it or else you're gonna lose. And you gotta give praise towards the combos you get. The combo meter is incredibly satisfying to witness. When you are fighting a squad of Joker goons, the more you punch, the more intense it gets. More importantly, the more engaging it gets, because of how quick it runs and how you need to stay in a certain area. Then you have the boss fights. Honestly, not a single miss for me. You got the great Poison Ivy and Joker final battles. I will say the Scarecrow ones did get a bit repetitive at times, but it was never like bad or anything. Speaking of villains, let's talk about the Riddler trophies. Probably the most polarizing part of these Batman games. These quests, I hate them. I hate them so much. They are cool, sure, but at times it just feels so derivative to the point it just takes me out of the game completely. But let's discuss the detective portion of this game. With the character of Batman being so attached to detective storytelling, you need to get that right with the character. And to say this game didn't do that would be a flat out lie. If you take a look at the scenes where Batman has to use the gargoyles to take out the goons, it's a perfect sequence of how to take out the Joker's squad. You see how Batman's abilities don't lie in his strength but his intelligence, even when bombs are on them. The same results are still present. The game does a great job showcasing Batman as a force of nature. It shows how the stealth-based missions become active with the player, how you see the environment around the goons, but more importantly, why it works with each section. When you use detective mode, it is so important to the entire game. If you don't use it, your experience will be a lot harder. Even outside of the fight scenes, you needed to find the Batmobile or find Jim Gordon. But let's get into the world of Arkham Asylum. You see, unlike the other games, this one is more contained. It is a story only set in Arkham Asylum. It adds to the experience. The world you see is more cohesive with an atmosphere so good it makes you blush. The design for Arkham Asylum is so impressive. It is so active you believe what is going down. When you're inside looking at what the founders of this insane asylum did, it is like a horror movie. There are plenty of tiny details that make a creepy experience to sit through. When Joker's plan gets further in, you just feel so much momentum. This helps with how much the execution around the combat has been, but also how well paced the story is. But let's turn our attention to the story, probably the strongest element of this entire game. The story focuses on a plan from Joker to take over Arkham Asylum. Now, since this is a very long story, we are gonna go by what happens to really understand what it gets right. So the story picks up right after Batman stopped the Joker. He takes him to Arkham, but Batman is suspicious because of how easy it was. As it turns out, he was right, and Joker breaks free and starts a prison riot. This is something the story does really well. It has a very focused pacing and keeps you very much engaged. Anyway, after this, we get a lot of intense sequences. Batman taking down Victor Zsasz, Batman saving a lot of officers from Joker's gas, or even when he's taking down the Toxin goons. All of this just makes sense and feels raw and versatile. Not to mention how incredible all of these fights are. Regardless of the difficulties, the fights are always just done so well. But Joker has captured Jim Gordon, so Batman must save him. He goes outside of Arkham, and it's here where we see how beautiful it looks aesthetically. He gets his iconic explosion gel, Batman then goes to the medical side to get Gordon out of there. Along the way, he meets others who have been captured. But here comes the first time Scarecrow's fear toxin, and it gets into a big battle. Again, this is an issue I do have with this story because they are just so overdone and not much changes in them. Anyway, after we went up against Scarecrow, we have to go save Gordon. Here you really have to use your stealth, otherwise you're gonna get the classic game over screen. But once you get him out of there, there is a big surprise waiting for you. Downstairs, there is big noise. We soon find out it's Bane and he has no venom in his system. He says it was the Dr. Yun who was studying him for Joker. But he was revealing a lot, so Joker puts the venom back in him. Another great boss fight ensues, and this is probably one of the most thrilling you get. Gordon then leaves the island and Batman is back to going to find Joker. Once all that is over, Batman goes to find a Batcave he has under Arkham. It's stuff like this that shows how smart Batman is, because not in a million years would anyone truly think to do something like this. It's a great showcase of Batman's intelligence and detective skills. Batman then goes all the way back to the surface and now deals with an upgraded Joker goons. Ones that now have alarms go off whenever Batman attacks them. Now he must be more stealthy than he ever has been. The story does not make things easy for the player. It makes them harder as the story progresses. Batman discovers what Joker's plan is and finds Dr. Yun's Titan formula. He then destroys it, but it's not the end. Another Scarecrow fear toxin battle ensues, which, as I've said earlier, really annoys me because of how overused it is. But considering how much this game gets right, I'm willing to let small things like this slide. After this, Batman finds Dr. Yun, tries to save her, but she goes after a safe that has a bomb in it and blows up and kills her and knocks Batman out. When he wakes up, it's too late. Joker got what he wanted and now he must fight all of his crooks. He gets a trace and he follows it into a different part of the asylum. On the way to find Harley and Warden Quincy Sharp, he meets Poison Ivy, who, dear God, these game designers were wild for making this design. Later, she gets set free by Harley. He gets a sequencer from Warden Quincy Sharp. Now he can get into anywhere in the asylum that it has to offer. Batman then saves a bunch of police officers before a battle between Harley happens. I will say, this battle is a little bit anticlimactic because Harley barely fights, but I don't think that's a terrible thing and it is in line with Harley's character. Anyway, Batman gets a list from her and locks her up. He heads over to the gardens where Joker currently is. He finds him after going through a lot of his crooks, but he turns two of them into Titans and he escapes. He then gets a new gadget and goes to find Poison Ivy. When he finds her, he asks her to make an antidote. She refuses until Batman starts hurting his plants. She tells him it's in Killer Croc's lair, which leads to a really great horror sequence that was set up really well from the beginning. I've really mentioned the horror scenes, but they are just incredible. And here it is at its best. I love the horror scenes in this game. But in the time we got in Croc's lair, a lot happened. We got to see Poison Ivy's plants mutate into Titan plants and now are more dangerous than ever. Even another Scarecrow sequence. Now I will say, despite my nitpicks with the Scarecrow scenes, the last one did horror probably the best possible way and was the most fresh. So credits where it's due, this one was pretty cool. So after the big horror chase from Killer Croc, Batman finally makes a cure, but Poison Ivy's plants have gone crazy and are destroying the Batcave. He was able to make a cure, but the damage was done to the cave, so he can't reproduce it where he is at. After this, we get a final battle of this game. Fireworks are going off. Even when Batman arrives, all of his goons are just clapping and cheering as the finale is about to begin. We get a big battle of the Titans going up against Batman. Joker even shoots Batman with one of them, but he rejects it. But he gives one to himself, which leads to the rooftop battle. What I love about this scene is that Batman uses the antidote on himself. Because of that, he has to play things smart, and he does. He knows there are better ways to take down Joker than getting stronger. He can take him down with his intellect, and that's what he does. The battle ends in the only way it could have, in the best possible way. Because of how far the journey has come, it feels earned. It even leads into the next game that makes a story even more profound. The story of Batman Arkham Asylum is simply masterful. It is without exaggeration a perfect Batman storyline. So now let's get into the character portion of this video, starting with Batman himself. I don't think it's a controversial thing to say that this version is one of the best we have ever seen. Yes, that includes movies and the animated series we have gotten. This version is such a great adaptation, and the late great Kevin Conroy's performance simply can't be praised enough. As we mentioned with a lot of the combat, this version is pure Batman. He is a smart detective, but also someone clearly trained by the League of Assassins. He is an expert with his gadgets and surroundings. One thing that any video game character has over any medium is their active characters. Compared to, say, the movie Batman, we have them as passive characters. Yes, we understand those Batman, but even with that, they are still passive. But here, we become Batman. This is an advantage games have over the movies. Because of this, we get a version we understand more than ever before. We see the reactions from Batman. We see how he fights Joker's thugs and how he solves mysteries. That is what makes this version of Batman so compelling. It's why the entire Arkham series works so well. But let's turn our focus onto the villains, starting with Joker. Like Conroy, they brought in Mark Hamill to voice Joker once again, who, like Conroy, is just pitch perfect as this character. Just like Batman, they nailed Joker. He is a force of nature, letting him get arrested with ease just so his plan could commence. This version isn't as chaotic and cunning as you would expect. His plan is to just use Bane's venom to take over Gotham. With Joker, you got plenty of the goons to take down. Of course, you got the standardized villains, the ones with the shock collars that go off if you take them down, the ones with weapons, and of course the ones with Titan inside of them. Each one gets harder and harder as you get further into the game. More importantly, the Joker is just unpredictable. He is a total challenge. You never know what his next move will be. It is all a mystery in how smart he is. This is what makes him such a worthy opponent to Batman. He enjoys the chaos and can't survive without fighting Batman. It is a perfect adaptation of Joker from top to bottom. Now, apart from Joker, we also get other popular Batman rogues. We get the horrifying Killer Croc scene, who wasn't used often, but when he was still terrifying. Poison Ivy adds a lot to the game's narrative and ups the stakes even more with how much control she has. Harley Quinn is fine, nothing bad, just a decent addition. The Scarecrow is a bit overused, but overall still progresses through a lot. Outside of the villains, we also get plenty of supporting characters. The most obvious ones are of course Oracle, Alfred, and Jim Gordon, all of whom are crucial to Batman's mythos. Oracle is the main one and helps Batman with most of her intellect. Meanwhile, Gordon helps inside the asylum. Alfred isn't used that often, but what you get is very useful for the journey at large. Now, apart from the other characters, the rest are pretty minimal. Characters like Aaron Cash or even Quincy Sharp aren't used that often, and when they are, it's mainly for a specific reason, like how Sharp gave Batman the object to get into the locked doors. Then we have Dr. Yun, who is easily the most important, even if her appearances are minimal at best. But her presence is everywhere. She is the reason for everything going on. The characters are honestly some of the best part of this already masterful game. Not only are the characters comic accurate, but also given the right performance and active experience that make it much better. If you want a prime example on how to adapt Batman characters, look no further than this. Overall, Batman Arkham Asylum is pitch perfect. It's a perfect Batman story with gameplay that is unmatched, a story that is filled with mystery, horror, and suspense, and characters that are some of the best in any Batman story. Batman Arkham Asylum is a masterclass in every way. Now before we go, I want to give a big thanks to James Stewart for making this video possible. He is letting us use this channel, so much thanks to him. And if you like this video, I upload more on my main channel, Film Rocket. So when I'm not posting here, I am over there making video essays just like this. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Until next time, take care.